All right, Shalom. All praises to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rafat Wadash. Double honors to the elder apostles, the bishops, and the elders of JMS who ruled well. Peace and salutations to the elect. My name is Aina. The title of this video is Global News Highlights. Right, and before I begin, I don't know what's happening. I usually use DeepSeek. I think it's one of the best. The answers are usually flushed out completely, but like I've been complaining in my past videos, when I go on there, even delete the app, remake a profile and everything, somehow, some way, Satan gets in there and flips it around. It believes it's 2024, or I could answer the question, it'll flush it all out. It'll be like, okay, boom, this is perfect, and it just delete it. And it'll say, sorry, that's beyond my current scope. Let's talk about something else. Right. So it does things like that, and then it changes the date on me and all of that. So it's complicated. I asked it, I said, show me a curated list of top news worldwide for today's date, including wars, protests in major countries like USA, Israel, Russia, Iran, and China, and also add things I might not know about regarding geopolitical issues using simple words, right? So I asked it that, and it flips out, right? So it was doing that before, but it's doing it now, so I might have to not use that anymore. I went to chat, and chat doesn't really want to talk like that. It gave me like 4 examples, and it was out, So I moved to Grok. So we're on Grok. So global news highlights is when I ask these artificial intelligence applications built by Esau Edom, the so-called white man, to bring down strongholds in his kingdom. So I use his technology that he thinks is going to, do something for himself to bring out news on himself, right? So that brings that shameful feeling. So this is let me grab it. Second Corinthians, Second Corinthians 10, right? Verse. I'll just start at 1. It says, now I Paul myself beseech you by the meekness and gentleness of Yahweh Shai, who in presence am base among you, but being absent am bold toward you. But I beseech you that I may not be bold when I am present with that confidence wherewith I think to be bold against some, which think of us as if we walked according to the flesh. For though we walk in the flesh, we do not war after the flesh. For the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty through Yahweh, to the pulling down of strongholds, right? And Esau has built himself, strongholds of lies. And we're casting those things down with his technology. It says, casting down imaginations and every high thing that exalts itself against the knowledge of Yahweh, right? So even AI will tell us that, Yahweh was a so-called black man. The angels look so-called black, right? So it get into that information. It says, in bringing in captivity every thought to obedience of Yahweh Shai, right? So that's exactly what we're doing. Bringing down strongholds, spreading the truth with this technology. So that's what we're doing today. We're going to the news, and we're, filtering it through prophecy, because the things happening now are speaking towards the end. Let's grab this second Esdras. Second Esdras 9:1. It says, he answered me then and said, measure thou the time diligently in itself, and when thou seest part the signs past, which I've told thee before, then shalt thou well understand. So it says, then shalt thou understand that it's the very same time wherein the highest will begin to visit the world which he made. Therefore, when there shall be seen earthquakes and uproars of the people in the world, then shalt thou well understand that the Most High spake of those things from the days that were before thee, even from the beginning. For like as all that is made in the world hath a beginning and an end, the end is manifest. Even so the times also the highest have plain beginnings and wonder and powerful works and ending and effects and signs. So what we're seeing right now is those effects and signs of the end, right? That's what we see upwards of the people, wars, rumors of wars, storms, right? Fires, and all these things are happening, right? So let's get to this Grok. I believe this Grok is Elon Musk. His AI artificial intelligence. I believe he took the one on TikTok, Twitter down because it was, spewing out Nazi slurs. So I think this one is still up, just the regular app on the phone, right? So top news worldwide for September 7th, 2025. Wars and conflicts. Since Russia-Ukraine war intensifies. Russia launched a massive drone attack on Ukraine overnight with 805 drones and decoys, the largest since the invasion began. Explosions were reported in cities like Kiev. Right, a drone strike hit Kiev government building for the first time, with smoke seen rising from the cabinet of ministers building. Two people, including a baby, were killed in Kiev. In Ukraine's Sumy region, a Russian strike killed one person and injured others, including a child. Ukraine reported that 6% of its weapons are now made domestically, boosting its defense against Russian attacks. Right, so we got that war going on. It says why it matters. The escalation shows Russia's ongoing aggression, targeting civilian areas and critical infrastructure, while Ukraine strengthens its own weapon production to fight back. Then we have Israel-Iran tensions post-war. It says following a 12-day war in June 2025, Iran conducted its first military exercise since the conflict, right? Launching missiles in the Indian Ocean and Gulf of Oman to show strength after losing to Israel in its proxy. Iran claims it developed new missiles and would use them if Israel attacks again. The U.S. bombed Iran nuclear facilities in June, making it a direct player in the conflict. So far we got Russia, Ukraine, we got Israel, we got Iran, and USA. Said why it matters. The Israel-Iran conflict risks further destabilizing the Middle East, especially with the U.S. involvement, and could lead to more regional fighting. So let's grab that Matthew 24. So it could lead to more regional fighting, and we know that Israel is going to drag out America, right? USA to war, and that war will be World War III. So this is something to look at, right? And we can clearly already see that happen. This is Matthew 24:4. It says, and Yahweh shall answer and said unto them, take heed that no man deceive you, for many shall come in. So start at verse 3. It says, and as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, tell us, when shall these things be? And what shall be the sign of thy coming in the end of the world? And Yahweh shall answer and said unto them, take heed that no man deceive you, for many shall come in my name, saying, I am anointed, and shall deceive many, say the false prophets. And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but it is not yet. Right, so we're going to hear these wars and rumors of wars. Why? Because all must be fulfilled. Right, the scriptures talk about that, and we're in that time now. This is Luke 21 and 22. Luke 21 and 22, it says, for these be the days of vengeance, that all things which are written may be fulfilled. So these things are being fulfilled now. So we're when it says the end is not yet, it's basically saying that things must be fulfilled, like World War III, the MOTB, Jacob's Trouble, which all things we're seeing now. Right, so we're at the end. So Israel assault on Gaza. It says Israel intensifies military operations in Gaza City, have killed scores of civilians and destroyed homes with mass displacement orders issued. Amnesty International called it part of a genocide and starvation campaign, accusing Israel of violating international law by forcibly displacing Palestinians. The U.S. All right, Shalakia, back. So I'm gonna go back to Israel. Point three here in the news it says Israel intensifies military operations in Gaza City, have killed scores of civilians and destroyed homes with mass displacement orders issued. Amnesty International called it part of a genocide and starvation campaign, accusing Israel of violating international law by forcibly displacing Palestinians. The U.S. and Israel set up safe zones run by private security contractors for aid, but critics say it entrenches Israel's control. Why it matters, the ongoing Gaza conflict continues to cause massive suffering and draws global criticism for what the U.S. facing pressure to address its role. Right. So we understand that America and Israel is tied to each other, but also America is basically the power of the world, right? And them siding with Israel is causing tensions, between the nations and people, and that's why the scriptures talk about America's allies turning on America because they're going to side with Israel. We can already see some of NATO, um, you know, members saying that the two-state solution is good. Let's just do the two-state because they don't want this war. So anyway, Matthew 12 and 25, it says, and Yahweh shall know their thoughts and said unto them, every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation, and every city or house divided against itself shall not stand. So that's the EU and NATO, right? In America, right? They're all at one point was together. But now because of this current situations of the world, you know, they're getting divided. It says, and if Satan shall cast out Satan, he is divided against himself. How shall then his kingdom stand? So that's like, saying that, a two-state solution is good. That's Edom casting out Edom because they're trying to let those Palestinians come to the land. They're not on one accord, which is our land, but they're fighting over. The scriptures talk about Jerusalem being trodden down of the Gentiles until the time of the Gentiles be fulfilled. So they're in their little, heaven right now. They're able to govern themselves in this world. America is the head of them, but they do what they do, right? And they're fighting over, basically our possessions, until Yahweh Bashim Yahushua comes and destroys it. Because it was never meant to be so, right? All right, so let's go back to this route. So we got how T drone it. Oh, this is what I want. I wanted to grab this because the Most High Yahweh is doing this. Of course, he's stirring up these nations for war, for battle. That's why they all bickering, fighting, divided, don't know what to do. All right, this is Isaiah 13 and 4. It says, the noise of a multitude in the mountains, like as of a great people, a tumultuous noise of the kingdoms of nations gathered together. The Lord Yahweh Bashmiel Shai muster the host of the battle. So the Lord Yahweh is doing this, right? The Lord controls everything. The king's heart is in the hand of the Lord, and he turns it whithersoever he will, right? So that's what we see happening these last days with these different nations fighting each other, and just basically it seems like the world is about to end, right? Everyone says that. People are waiting for aliens to come attack or missiles to hit them, something. They like, yo, bring it on. This is so Houthi drone attack on Israel. A drone launched by Yemen's Houthi group hit Israel's southern airport, closing airspace and halting flights. This attack is linked to the broader Israel-Iran conflict as Iran supports the Houthis. Right? They said while it matters, the Houthis' ability to strike Israel shows how regional conflicts are spreading, involving non-state groups backed by Iran. So a whole host of individuals are out here. So we got protests, Jerusalem protests for hostage deal. They're actually protesting against Netanyahu too, against the war, all of that. It says thousands protested in Jerusalem, urging Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, which is not a Jew, to secure a deal to free hostages held in Gaza. This follows a ceasefire attempt between Israel and Hamas, but tensions remain high. While it matters, public pressure in Israel reflects frustration with the government's handling of the Gaza conflict and hostage situation, which could influence policy. Global protest expected in 2025. So we have, of course, the No Kings events and things like that. They're coming heavy against this cruel Lord, pursuant to Isaiah 19. So we have issues like climate change, economic inequality, and political oppression are likely to drive protests worldwide. really was driving this protest is the division, right? The wars, right? The government ruling as kings and not listening to the people, right? And people not wanting their loved ones to go out to war and die, or having their loved ones brought back. So that's what's happening. We had the women protesting because Kamala Harris didn't win. They was upset about it. Major countries, U.S. Geopolitical challenges. The U.S. is deeply involved in the Middle East conflict. There you go. Having bombed Iran nuclear sites in June 2025, escalating tensions. So we have that. We have China rising tensions. It says China surveyed an undersea telecom cable, hinting at escalating tensions in the region. So we got it says Taiwan suspects China's survey, I believe is severed an undersea telecom cable. All right, so we still have the situation with Taiwan, which is more wars. The Most High Yahweh mustering the host of the battle. So we have Russia's increasing tensions in the Baltic Sea, where an undersea power cable was damaged, rising concerns about sabotage, concerns about sabotage. It says Russia ties with Iran and China also strengthening its anti-Western stance. And we also have that ice melting over there, where they said some natural resources are in the Arctic, and they're pretty much fighting over that area too. That's again the Most High Yahweh mustering the host of the battle. They're fighting over everything. They're divided over everything, right? So it's going to go down. There's no way that peace. Hey, the scriptures say when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction. There's no deal where anything has been made, especially with a dying power. America had the power, and America is dying now. So America is fighting the hardest. Any resources that America loses in this time, it's a major loss. It's not something insignificant, right? So we got the anniversary of 9/11 coming up, and they said these individuals that they're at war with, like Hamas and things like that. It says the Israel-Hamas conflict fuels this threat through extremist attacks have slightly declined. So they're saying that basically because the 9/11 attack is coming back up, that individuals like Al-Qaeda and affiliates will call for attacks on the U.S., which they're already doing, right? They're attacking bases that are in America. Not Slovakia. They're attacking U.S. bases that are out there over there in those lands. Just getting attacked. It's not really down hit. There's nothing. No one was damaged or whatnot. But they're getting attacked, right? So so pretty much that's what Grok got for me today. All right, Lord willing, this thing, it continues to act appropriately, and I can use it more often. But that's been the news. Let's grab some scriptures here. I'll get Ephesians. It is 5. Yeah, Ephesians 5:15. It says, see then that you walk circumspectly, not as fools, but as wise, redeeming the time because the days are evil. Yeah, so, we're in a time of war, famines and things like that. Let's grab some of this too. So all this thing, all of it is about to pop off. So this second Esdras 16:17, it says, woe is me, who will deliver me in those days, the beginning of sorrows and great mournings, the beginning of famine and great death, the beginning of wars, and the power shall stand in fear, the beginning of evils. What shall I do when these evils shall come? Hey, lean on Yahweh, Bashmi Shah, trust in the Lord. Hey, so pretty much, that's been the news. Shalom to the elect, which consists of men, women, children, shalom.